Hello and welcome to another episode. I keep wanting to change that word. I feel like it's not an episode, but okay, that's fine. Anyways, welcome to my channel. My name is Jose. I'm you can say yes, I'm an astrologer. Sorry, there was a doubt there. Okay, I'm an astrologer, specifically working with asteroids. So micro astrology is what I love to call it. Um, do a bunch of stuff too, like music, and I love languages, all that stuff. Check out my other videos for that one. But today I wanted to talk about, how people sometimes wonder about joy and happiness, and I feel like those are kind of semantically speaking, they're kind of different. So what I mean by this is that because of the word happy, we think of happiness as like something human, right? Like, it's like getting what you want. Basically, that's the essence of it. Like feeling like, oh, I'm in this, it feels temporary to me, happiness. But there is happiness, there's greater happiness, because that's the thing about human language, and it's very limited. It's energetically speaking, energy gives you the actual information, not the wording itself. How we use the words is what makes a difference. But we do have to make use of the words. And same thing with astrology. We make use of the concepts, the symbolism, the analogies, and what have you, right? So in today's video, I want to talk about how specifically like the dwarf planets behave. And I think I want to attach it directly to them being, a lot of them being like higher vibrations of specific planets. Now we're looking at it astrologically, yes, but it does the archetypes that they represent, the archetype, them as an archetype actually connect directly, correlate directly with what I feel personally is the actual higher joy or the higher things that you need to work on. When I say joy here, I mean like I was watching a video by Teal Swan. She talks about bulldozing and discipline, and it just came to me, and it's like as I was watching it halfway through, she talks about how there's joy, right? But I also wanted to relate it to Bashar's content when he talks about higher excitement, your highest excitement. So it's not the excitement that we think as humans we believe is, excitement like "Yee, kitty, ow," that kind of stuff. Um, but it's comes from deeper than the heart, higher than the heart, if that makes sense. So it's not really in the physical form. It's not attachment. It's joy that it's aligned with what feels like, oh, this is me. Because you are purpose itself. You just being alive is purpose itself. So okay, so let's take a look at the planets. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is one second here. We're gonna look at all the planets here. I'm gonna show you how exactly what I mean by this. Like I feel like it's gonna attach but this one's kind of a bit impromptu feely, if that makes sense. Okay. So I'm gonna share my screen here and I'm gonna actually show you my chart because you can see there with all the asteroids. So the dwarf planets. So let's look at the dwarf planets, starting with Eris. Ixion is technically not. Let's go with Orcus. Let's remove Orcus. Set over and over. And there's also technically I'll add series here. Just yeah. Okay. Are there other ones? Okay, that's it. I think. Okay. So I'm using my natal chart because I wanted to show you my experiences with it. So what are the things that come to mind when it comes to um let's say let's go with Eris, right? Eris is trying to mine North Node. But the thing is Eris here is retrograde. So there's a pullback to the release of Eris to me feels a lot like because it's a high vibration in Pluto. Generally, she's the one that goes like, you cannot have power unless you release power. So true power, which means this feeling of like connectedness and being like omnipotent, like just really connected with the divine, like you are God. that's Iris. She feels like that whole like, okay, by letting it go and just kind of like laughing at things and observing all the absurdities of the labels we have as being human and all the concepts that there are in the universe when it comes to attachment and ego and all that stuff. Iris laughs at that, right? She mocks it. It's mockery in a way that is not injury, although it feels like injury. That's why in mythology she talks about laughing at the bloody soldiers or whatever. The bloody soldiers and bloody battlefields and all that stuff, right? So remove the destruction of yourself. Okay. So Eris here, but here says retrograde. So I've always kind of felt like I naturally doubted that. There's a trine here, so it's naturally doubted my path to being. This is why she's tied to activism. But the thing is, Eris is not necessarily activism like I need to be active. Although because it's in Aries, feels like there's an assertiveness to about it. But it's kind of more like in a very um changing the world so that we people realize the absurdities of the past and the absurdities of attachment, absurdities of well, the past, right? And the absurdities of having to fight, resist, fighting, resisting go hand in hand, right? So Eris feels like that. But for us to have that joy, going back to that theme of today's video, the joy that we feel, I feel for me, is that releasing all that and just like, okay, just having, because there's this desire for me to want to change languages, wanted to change the world with the way to learn. This is my philosophy, 9 degrees, ninth house, right? So I've always found that to be, but then I really started realizing the more let go, the more it's just like, oh, Eris is coming through. Eris, my inner archetype, my inner Eris is coming through. And it's coming through in a way that it's like, now I'm seeing it, it's like, okay, I can't control that. That's fine. I have no power over that. So the power in itself, will itself of the universe, so all universes will manage that on its own without me having to do anything. I just need to tempt people and kind of question them, getting them to question and be like, are you sure about that? So that's where planting the seeds, that's Eris, kind of like that. So she's kind of like the catalyst. She's plants the seeds of non-absurdity, if that makes sense. Okay, so there's the next one is so she's a high vibration of Pluto. It's funny because I have Pluto conjunct my sun. But it's in Libra. So Libra is ruled by Eris. Um, and there's also Venus. Venus rules Libra. But Haumea is conjunct by Venus right there. So Haumea is a high vibration of Pluto, oh sorry, of Neptune, and Neptune is a higher vibration of Venus itself. So you can see here, it's funny how it's like there's two things here I wanted to mention. High vibration Haumea is square to Neptune, square Venus. It goes kind of back and forth. But then I also have Make, high vibration of Uranus, um, and Uranus is high vibration of Mercury. It's funny how that comes together, right? It's like I feel like that effect is like a kind of like a slingshot effect. Boom, 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 kind of thing. So, anyways, going back to Haumea. So Haumea feels to me like because it's high vibration of Neptune, she's the belief inside of us that is to trust and have faith in our internal abilities to transcend uh, values, transcend what we feel as kind of like idealism. So idealism and values are kind of very similar, right? Because we think of idealism as like this thing where we're trying to see that has to be this way. This is what I value. So home is that release of the value that it's like, that's okay. You don't need to value anything. You just need to understand that you are worth itself. So it's tied to worth. It's tied to the the best of myself, if that makes sense, right? The best of myself. I can be all that I can be, but Haumea teaches us it's like release all that. You are already best. You don't need to reach out for the best because you in itself will. That's why Haumea is tied to regeneration because she's like your best of yourself is coming back to your own childlikeness and your youthfulness. She tends to go like old back to youthfulness. She's like she kind of like starting over again, right? So Haumea is that release, and you really start to release that, and you start to realize, oh, I am worthy. So going back to Eris, it's like I am powerful. Then you have how many I am worthy. You see that? And then we have here Make Make. Make Make is the higher vibration of Uranus, and Uranus the high vibration of Mercury. So with those two, with those three rather, you have thought, right? So belief, perspective, perception, belief systems, ideas, intuition, possibly intuition, but kind of like that. So the mind, right? So Make is like that whole like release of having to know, right? So instead of saying I need to know or I want to or reaching out for it, Make says like once you release that, you'll start to realize like I am knowledge, I am wisdom, right? So there you go. That's how it's, I just kind of shortened it a little bit. Make is he's about like the egg as well. He's about reaching for the top. But it's not about reaching for the top because you want to win, but because it's an acknowledgement of you are already at the top of knowledge. You are top of wisdom. You have it inside of you. You are that. So I am wisdom, knowledge, wisdom and knowledge. Okay. And then we also have here then core. Let's go to core. Core is just a high vibration of Jupiter. Core is the high vibration of Jupiter. So therefore, um, what is this one? So Jupiter is expansion. Jupiter is growth, right? But sometimes Jupiter wants to expand and growth so much that it sort of loses perspective and loses track of what's behind it. It kind of just wants to expand, 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 expand without limitations or without any sort of perspective, without, this one, without that whole like, okay, it needs perspective. So core gives that perspective by saying, okay, you can expand, but don't force it. There's a reason why Jupiter rules financial organization, financial businesses, big businesses, corporations, is because there's a sort of like a want to expand and grow, grow, grow. But to what is that? Right? Jupiter also rules it's like Jupiter is expansion and luck, but the thing is, sometimes when we let go too much, core wants to follow that. Core wants to follow that same same process, but it's not a desire anymore. It's a release of expansion. It's a release of the desire to continue to grow. Because if you're just growing, then what's the point? But at the same time, there is no point. When we detach ourselves from that idea of we need to grow, it's like, no, I need to grow. No, core says I am growth. I am possibilities. That's what it is. So core is a belief in possibilities. So it naturally expands, but in a very natural way. It goes with the rhythm of life. That's core. He actually rules rhythms, drumming, rhythms, pulse. That's core, right? So if that makes sense, do you understand what that means? So core is I am life. Okay, I am possibilities. Then we have Varuna. Varuna is the high vibration of Saturn. Now, Saturn, as we know, is like the teacher. He's about lessons, right? He's all about the questioning of whether are you talking about results or consequences, right? And there's limitations and fears, and there's also discipline, right? But Varuna is not just discipline. Varuna is, how to explain this? Varuna is connection to natural order. Natural order by this, what I mean, like, even if you put in the effort to do something and have a goal in mind, Varuna will say, okay, you put in the effort, now let it go. Let go your limitations. I will naturally do that for you. Varuna is omnipresence, omniscience. So it's like the I am that I am kind of thing. It's funny because Varuna is kind of, it feels like that. Varuna is like the whole like you put in the time and effort, you created something, let it flourish on its own. So have the discipline, but don't over discipline yourself, if that makes sense. Right. So Varuna is that I am order, I am natural order, I am matter itself. So here, Saturn often represents also what we overcompensate for because there's a fear that we're not having enough, we're not creating enough. So Saturn rules gravity, but when there's too much limitations pull you in, Varuna comes in and says, no, let go of that because Varuna is not gravity. Varuna is neither gravity nor release. It's a Varuna is like the whole like what do you call this? So Saturn is about technically matter, right? Formation, crystallization, calcification, all that stuff. Creation, formation. Varuna is more like you don't need to create matter. You do matter. It's tied into a little bit of the Venus thing, right? So Varuna is like that. You are matter. So you can create anything. There's a belief that you can create anything once you believe in that. So all these things ties into my experiences with specifically like values. I know that with Haumea, sometimes it switches over and it's like, this is why I become less pedantic. Haumea is like, because I have it in Virgo, Haumea started to release in myself, the archetype of Haumea in my psyche started to go, okay, you are what did I say? You are worthy. You are worth itself. So you don't need to prove yourself by trying to correct others. You don't need to be pedantic. So how may I help me release all that? So I'm like, okay, cool. That's cool. So I've been having to learn the square aspect to Neptune because there's this imagination that if I put in all the effort, if I correct things, if I make things perfect, it's like, no, release, Neptune release that. And then back to Haumea saying, you can still have that. You can still have that perfectionism in you, but it doesn't have to be absolute. It could just be like, okay, take it stride by stride, take it in strides, bit by bit, and say, okay, do the little things. And that's Virgo, little things. And Haumea is going like, okay, you are worth it. So I started to realize my worth and just said, okay, cool, that's wonderful. And then when it came to was it Eris? So again, there was that wanting to power. When I was a younger person, I wanted to control things. I wanted to be in control of things. Eris is still question. I'm still learning from Eris. Eris is telling me it's like, yeah, just laugh at yourself, laugh at it, just find it, just look for the funny things in like, is this what it is? Is my beliefs? What is it? What are my beliefs? So Eris is like, just telling me to like laugh at myself. So I'm just like, okay, fine because Eris will say, I am, you are power. You are power itself. You are omnipotent being. So it's kind of like Verona. It's like you are omnipotent being. What's the problem? What's the rush? So I'm continuously learning that because it is retrograde. Retrogrades, if you remember, there's a video on retrogrades. I might post it at the end of this video. Hopefully I remember. Um, actually, I'm going to put that in here. uh, touch retrograde. Okay. So yes, Eris does that. So that makes sense, right? Mars is like I just like that whole like power thing. I wanted to be, I put a lot of energy into my happiness, like my hobbies, my like anything recreation. That's the fifth house. And also children. I work too hard, and then it kind of like, but then it because ties to sports and languages. So I worked hard for that, and that's where the moon started coming in. It's just like there was this nervousness about me. It affected my nervous system, which is the moon, but also in Aquarius, it's also kind of nervous system. So even though I appeared naturally, there's a trine aspect to my ascendant here. Even though that was the case, I couldn't. There's something pulling me back, and it's just like no, it's like because I had to. My moon in Aquarius means I want to help people, but with the Mars being so intense there to kind of like, so I needed to learn how to rise above that and say, stop being in control and find control in a different way. So my ego had to die. The more my ego had to die, because Pluto is a higher vibration than Mars, I basically started to release all that ego. And Eris is still teaching me, it's like, oh, there's still absurdities left over. So just laugh at that. So, and then Eris here is actually trying my North Node, which is where I'm headed, which is perfect because I'm just like, okay, release all that power, release all that need to fight and to resist and all that stuff. Just have fun, show them the apple. I'd be like, okay, that's fine. And just look at it from a sense of curiosity. Create the Discord if you need to, but it's not going to be Discord unless people create it to be a Discord. People will see it as chaos, but really what it is just a questioning. It's good to have those questions. It's good to question things. That's yours as well. That's another side. Okay. The make, the thing that I'm still kind of learning because it is a square to my Uranus right here. Um, and my the thoughts that come through when I just release it, make will naturally download all that stuff. Although it is tied to the second house, which is about self-worth, money is freedom. Self-worth is the big one here. I used to question that whole like being able to speak naturally. This is also Makimaki. He's kind of just like random kind of speech. He might be also tied to light language, which is just random stuff, which I should feel like I should put that in here. Light language? I don't know. So I'm continuously like actually improving and expanding my little cheat sheet, my 700 something whatever page. Okay, so so there you go. So make is that whole like trusting in the flow of downloads that you get. And sometimes you need to say something. If you don't say something, then it's okay that you miss it, and that's fine. So there's a FOMO thing going on there. Um, but with the electricity and it's tied to the nervous system here, for me, it's almost just like that's okay. Go with the nervous system, but kind of also listen to what the nervous system is saying. Makamaka has taught me to say you are wisdom itself. So trust the wisdom, trust the downloads, trust the knowledge that you get anyways. It's not really yours. You're just living in body in this body. This body is not real. Makamaka rises above that. So that's Makamaka, right? Okay. So just like kind of like what I'm doing now. Okay. So um, what else was this one? Okay, so and then Jupiter, so core again. So for me, core has been this like square to my square to my North Node, but that lesson is kind of just to find rhythm in life and kind of trust it. Now, I never really trusted the flow. I still today, I still question that. I have core, it's actually core, yeah, square my nodes. There's actually square to Chiron as well, because there was always this fear that if I don't follow the rhythm of life, rhythm to life itself, like Kundalini energy, all that stuff, it feels like I'm gonna lose my senses, I'm gonna lose things, I'm gonna lose my reputation. Now, continuously being taught that, we're just like, so lose it, lose your reputation, lose your hearing, lose it. And sometimes I hear things like I said, so what if you're dizzy? So I just like, okay, so I've slowly been letting that go. So I realize now that even though I sort of get dizzy, so there's a balance that needs to happen in acceptance of the challenges that come with the square. Those are challenges, but the challenges that specifically come with the whole like, what are you really fearing? Is it is it what I'm feeling like? Am I feeling like if I'm unstable that there'll be chaos? But what is chaos? Isn't it just a natural phase, a natural process of the universe itself, that everything is ever changing? Isn't that chaos? That's also Eris, by the way. So by doing that, I start to realize it's like, oh, or it's like, oh, see, that's a rhythm. Rhythm is not so much to embrace stability or chaos. Neither one. It's like saying, that's just life flowing. Go with that rhythm, right? So you are flow. You are you are expansiveness. You are growth itself. You are um, potential. Well, you are probability. You're potential, probability. You are all of these things. Everything is possible. You are that. Okay. And then I have, and of course, what is it? Varuna. So Varuna here is actually trying to my South Node. So I naturally had a disconnection with this retrograde. I had a kind of a disconnection with trusting discipline. Like, see, I'm learning about communication. It's in Gemini, so it's about Mercury here. So it's about having to express myself, self-expression, naturally being unable to express it. Now I have to work on it in the North Node, in the path here. There's a sextile here. So the trine is showing that I naturally, in the past life, wasn't able to express myself completely, be myself, and kind of have that discipline that comes with Varuna, but it's not discipline like kind of like out of fear. It's just like put in the effort, do those little things, express yourself little by little, and that will grow on its own. That will be not that will flow in accordance with natural law. Okay. So there you go. I put in the effort, it'll come naturally. Just like what I'm doing right now. Sometimes like these things happen. It's like, oh, there's the discipline coming in. It's not bulldozing as Teal Swan puts it. Right? It's literally like discipline because it's like, okay. So one of the things I've been learning to do is discipline my self-expression, my me. That's a North Node in Leo, right? With the air in South Node, it's a combination of both fire and air. So it's if that makes sense, from my experience, I hope this really helps you how these dwarf planets actually can behave because these are the new layers of astrology that will come through. The dwarf planets will help us to understand another layer of our consciousness. We're already here. Now there's another layer up here. It's kind of like realizing it's like this consciousness, right? So the more planets we discover, the more it's because we start to realize, oh, there's more to it than what we already know. It's not really knowing itself, but it's an inner knowing, or Richard puts it, it's not mental constant, it's not mental knowing or mental thing. It's beyond that. It's he calls it understanding. In his world, it's understanding. Okay. So I love how all that stuff came through. And I had it anyways, I'm gonna go into tangents here. But anyways, I hope that made sense. I hope you got that. If you have any questions, comments down below. I hope that really helps with dwarf planets. At least there's more dwarf planets out there. Like there's Orcus as well. There's Gong Gong. That's a cute one. I don't know what Gong Gong is. I think Gong Gong is tied to Virgo, the new ruling planet of Virgo. But I thought it was Orcus too. But then I was thinking Varuna as well, because Varuna is tied to purity. So, or it could be all the centaurs with Virgo because they're small. So I'm not really sure. Chiron is definitely a new ruler or of Virgo. To the Virgos out there. Um, yeah. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I don't know. Could be many things. A sign can have more than two ruling planets. That's totally fine. It's normal. I think that's the case. Like Aries is going to have two ruling planets too. We don't know really what it is, but I think Aries is Varuna too, because Aries is it's a weird one. To look into that one. We'll see. Maybe it's for another video. But anyways, if that helps, thank you. I digress. Digression is fun. So comment down below and like and subscribe. If you have any questions, of course, write it down below. And I'll try to remember adding that retrograde post on my at the end of this video. Looking forward to seeing you guys again. Whew, went longer than I expected, but thank you. I will see you next time. Have a good day. Bye.